some amazing inspirational speakers today. And first up, we've got Khan, who is... Do you want to come up? Yeah? Do you want to introduce your piece a little bit? Who's going to give an inspirational speech, really. So can we have a big round of applause?
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Khan, and today I'd like to start off my speech with a message of hope. Hope for today, tomorrow, and the future. What we discuss and ruminate on today across whatever topic you've chosen to explore, whether that's racism and division, health and inequality, education, and mental and physical well-being, we need to stay solutions-focused and hopeful that we can make change. And to the adults and professionals here today, I need you, and we need you, to really and truly value what we as young people discuss today and make sure everything that is discussed is fed back to your day-to-day work and to the Hope Collective so that the document that is presented to Downing Street later this year can be as powerful of a doctrine as it can be. So, can anybody tell me what this is? Please, be brave. Yeah, go on. A bin bag, exactly. And this humble plastic tool, renowned across the world for its usability, is really what got me into my activism at age 14. And it got me to found a community interest company, take action on fly tipping in my local area, and ultimately try to build a community garden. Now, that may be a lot to take in, so let me just first discuss what actually is activism. And I think a good quote that sums up activism is from Alice Walker, and it reads, activism is my rent for living on this planet. Now, many people can get a little bit lost when it comes to activism, and they might think that the best way to make change is like the lobbying of politicians, or it might be like mass protests, or it might even be vandalism. And these have been shown to be effective over millennia, but sometimes problems can be caused close to home, and from there the smallest change can make the biggest of differences, a knock-on effect of good. Living in Toxteth, I walk past fly tipping every single day on my way home from school. And I never really did anything about it because of three reasons. One, it's not my problem. Two, it's not on my doorstep. And three, I didn't cause it. Now that is sort of an internal monologue that I'm sure many people have had before. And I could have stopped there and I could have just went about my day and forgot about it. But in fact, I didn't do that and I decided to make a change. So this light bulb moment was really what got me into my activism. And at age 14, I sat in my room and sort of decided, what's my next step going to be? And I came up with a name, Mulgrave Street Action Group, and I came up with an aim to convert a fly tipping hotspot on my street into a community garden. So I went and told my mum, who's in the audience today, as to, what I was trying to do, and really sold it to her. And, she gave me the full back on herself, and she said that we should form the action group into some sort of company. A community interest company, and that's what we did, and that would allow us to open the doors to all kinds of funding to achieve our smaller projects and also build the community garden. So what did I do next? Well, I drafted a flyer and I printed it off in my school, and then I set out leafleting the next day. I went door to door, all down the street, spoke to all my neighbours, and the response that I got was completely unexpected. It was absolutely abysmal. Yeah, but, can you blame them? Because each of them had seen the problem and nobody had done anything about it. So why was any change going to happen now? So for people to actually believe change was going to happen, they had to actually see something. That's what I realized. And I realized that starting from the beginning, nothing's going to be easy. You just need to be strong and carry on and go and pursue what you're doing. And that's what I did. So I decided I would begin litter picking. So I contacted a local housing association and I wanted to get some money for some bin bags and some litter picks. So I set out, doing that. I was out there litter picking, getting my name out there. People could see what I was doing, and I was speaking to people. And then after that, I realized that the fly tipping, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It doesn't phase into reality. It doesn't fall from the sky. There must be a real need for waste disposal in my community. How do people get rid of waste? Well, skips, of course, skips. And I realized we should hire some of those. So I contacted my housing association. I got some funding for one skip, and I handed out some more flyers, told people about it. And lo and behold, the day was a success when it arrived. It was filled past the fill line, and the streets were clear, neighbors were content, and I was happy that I was finally making some sort of change. Now, if the problem had gone away after that, I probably wouldn't be standing here today telling you about what I've been doing. And indeed, it did return, and I realized that the problem needed to be struck at its core more so that, it stopped coming back in the future. So what I did next was I was told by somebody about councillors. Now, in case you don't know, because I didn't have to start, each local area in the city has one or two people dedicated to looking after its people, their views and their needs, and that gets fed back to the city council. But best of all, they have money to help you and myself with activism. So that's what I did. I sat down with her for a meeting and I said, we need some more skips. We need to keep getting at this to try and stop it. So I had 2 more skips. The day was a success. Again, even more fly tipping was gone off the streets. And again, MSAG and my face was out there as not someone who just talks, but actually does something, And that's exactly what we all need to actually see change on the horizon. But lo and behold, it did come back. And that was a little bit disheartening because I actually found a guy who was dumping his bins on the land. Shocking, I know. And I confronted him, and he said it doesn't matter where he dumps his rubbish because the council will come and clean it up anyway. That's absolutely shocking, to be honest. And that's not a good mindset to have about anything, because when you just pass on a problem to someone else, you're not just giving it to them, you're exemplifying it, really. So, going to school in Mossley Hill, I realized that there was a stark contrast between, the amount of fly tipping that I saw there, TVs and mattresses and chairs, just strewn across patches of grass. That's zero, absolutely none. And one thing that I took note of was the amount of greenery and flowers that was present in the area, and how that was completely lacking where I lived, especially on my street. So I decided, why not get some planters down? Why not place some planters on the street and bring some joy and greenery to the area so that maybe people will respect where they live more if it looks a bit more nicer. And they'll respect themselves as well to not fly tip. So I found another housing association's funding pot, and I applied for that, and I managed to get some money for 5 planters. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how far you could stretch £300 for like 5 planters, plants, soil, and paint. But it was a bit of a hard stretch. But lucky me, my granddad's actually a part-time woodworker. He is a bit of a carpenter by trade, and he makes stuff out of recycled pallets. So I spoke to him, and he whipped up 5 planters for pretty cheap, but really good value. So that was very good, and the day was a success. I actually, by then, had amassed a small group of volunteers, but I also got some help from the local mosque, who lended a hand, and as well as the police as well, who came down. They stopped off, and as a team, we all lifted them up and down the street, very heavy, filled them all with soil, and got them all planted up. So that project was a success, and I think that was really like the start of a new era of my activism personally, because it was the first like actual concrete change that I had done with regards to something that no one can really take away, because fly tipping can keep coming back, but you can't lift the planter. It's very heavy. So from then, I just sort of took a break. I took a step back from the hands-on activism because I felt that, I'd sort of done something good, and it was now time to start putting some pressure on the council to actually make this garden a reality. And I had my eye on this fly tipping hotspot to, really turn into something useful for the community. So I was back and forth in emails over several months, discussing as to how, we can make this possible with a lease from the council. And, despite me coming with, passion, and despite me doing some community consultations, all my neighbours and friends and family were lending their voice to the project. But it seemed like the council didn't really care. And that was until the media descended. So the BBC came down, the ITV came down, they interviewed me and some of my volunteers as well about the project. And it was at that point that my voice was just exemplified fully. And it seemed like we were actually getting somewhere, and we were actually. So within a couple of weeks after that happened, we actually got the lease, which was amazing. It was a brilliant, step forward with regards to achieving the project, and it was a complete first for me. I'm only 15. I'm not a landowner, so it was great to really know that we're getting somewhere with the project. And then we got even more good news, and that was that Mulgrave Street Action Group had a successful bid for Liverpool City Region Community Environment Fund. So that meant that we were one of 33 community organisations in the city to get a share of £500,000. And that was more than enough money to really make this garden a reality. So that was brilliant. We now had the lease and we had funding in the bank as well. So what happened after that? Well, not everything's smooth sailing, and even with funding, things can be quite difficult. For the next about 5 or 6 months, I was just being passed through the hands of tons and tons of contractors who were saying that they could build the garden for ludicrous amounts of money, charging us money that we just didn't have. And contractors that were trying to under-deliver, trying to make it so that we didn't even have seating or fencing or even many plants in this garden. And then we had contractors that were just wasting my time and mining for data and information. And again, that can be quite disheartening. Like I said before, nothing is easy, even when you do have money. And that's something that I learned, a valuable lesson with regards to project management and being sharp and smart about how you spend it in order to achieve your goal. So where am I up to now? Well, like I said, after being passed through so many people and being let down so many times, we're getting closer and closer to this deadline of the end of March this year. So I decided I'd take the reins of the project myself, subcontract everything out, and get it built. So I stand before you today, and I'd like to invite all of you to the garden launch at the end of March. Thank you. Not all at once though, because it's not that big, but yeah. So yeah, that's just been an amazing journey for me. And I suppose it all comes back to this bin bag, which was really the tool that got me to do all of this, to go out litter picking, with a litter picker of course, not my bare hands, and pick up, wrappers, even try bagging up some fly tipping myself. And from this bin bag, I've managed to do all of this and start my career into activism. So what I want to leave you with today is that it doesn't matter how small the change might be, or at least what you think, the impact might be that you want to do, because you never know where it might take you from that little bit of work that you put in. Thank you.